For instance, there was this one guy who randomly started coming in on a nightly basis. He was this frail old man who was unusually tall and cartoonishly thin. He was barely able to fold up his legs to fit in the booth. It's always hard to tell how much of an eater a customer is going to be, but this guy was definitely a surprise, as he looked like he hadn't eaten in years. Good evening. Welcome to Denny's. Would you like to start with a drink or are you ready to order?
Oh, I'm ready, Sonny. Give me the Grand Slam special.
Are you sure? It's quite the bill if you don't finish the challenge.
Never underestimate my appetite, Sonny. I could eat you and your entire family in a single sitting if I wanted to. Now go put in my order.
Sure thing. I was caught off guard by his order. The Grand Slam is a corporate promotional menu item, sort of a fusion of an all-you-can-eat buffet and an eating challenge. It's 20 full-size buttermilk pancakes split into 2 stacks of 10, and if you can eat all of them in 15 minutes or less, it's free. It's usually meant to be split between 2 people or even more, so whenever I see someone order it by themselves, I know they're about to fail. I've seen
Guys, it's very scary.
get close, but never succeed. Personally, I can only eat 3 of those pancakes before I'm full. Any more and I start to feel sick. I can never imagine eating 20. You probably wouldn't believe it unless you saw it with your own eyes, but this guy put the challenge to shame. I set the food down on the table and walked back to the kitchen. I then watched with the cook from the kitchen as the skin and bone stick of a man picked up an entire stack of pancakes, unhinged his jaw, then stuffed all 10 pancakes in his mouth and swallowed them without even chewing. The cook and I just looked at each other in absolute disbelief. But before we could even find words for what we'd just seen, the man was disappearing the other stack down his gullet all the same. There, just like that, the old man, now with a distended belly, got up and walked out without paying a dime. He didn't even tip. My coworker and I immediately tried to relay this information to our boss, but he didn't believe us until he saw the security footage.
What in the hell? How's that possible? Is there anything we can do about that? I had to make 20 whole pancakes and he didn't even taste a single one. Not official. But if he keeps doing this, we'll have to get creative. What's that supposed to be? Don't worry about it. Let us handle it. Keep that smiley face nice and ignorant.
I really thought that such a feat was a fluke that could never be recreated. But to my surprise, the frail old man came back the very next day. And somehow, there was no way to tell that he'd eaten 20 pancakes the night before. The bulge in his belly was gone, and he looked as deathly thin as before.
Welcome back, sir. What can I get you for tonight? Oh, come on, Sonny. We don't have to play this pointless game of manners, do we? You know what I want.
Let me guess. Another Grand Slam?
That's it. Get used to it.
I begrudgingly put the ticket up, and the cook, being one of those people who is averse to work, looked absolutely pissed. I knew he was going to do something unsavory to the food, but I didn't want to know what. But at the same time, I really couldn't help myself from looking. What I saw wasn't very creative, but it was nasty. The cook hocked up a big ball of mucus and spat between every pancake in both stacks. I was honestly surprised by his boldness, but I guess if you're going to do something like that, you don't take half measures. After serving the man his food, the cook and I both watched from the kitchen once again, but this time, the cook was much more enthralled. I don't know what he was expecting, but the man ate all the pancakes in the exact same fashion as the previous night, in 2 inhumanely massive bites. The cook looked a little disappointed that the man hadn't tasted anything off about the pancakes, but I'm sure he didn't bother tasting them to begin with. This went on for a few weeks. Every single night, the skinniest man I've ever seen in my life would come in and put away 20 pancakes in about 30 seconds, then come in the next night looking like it had all gone straight through him, like he had some kind of tapeworm living in his gut. That's when my boss noticed that the man would usually guzzle down an entire glass of water after finishing his food. And I think that's when the light bulb went off in his head. The next day, my boss forced me to get in on it.
Hey, I need a penny from you. Don't ask why. Alright, boss. I think I've got one. Here.
A minute later, I saw the cook take the penny from my boss and sneak it in the stack. I thought they'd clean out their pockets for change and put a coin in between each one. I don't know what possessed them to be so childishly vindictive, but my coworkers were highly invested in trying to screw with this guy. But that's not even the worst of it. The cook powered off a gallon of pancake batter and made a special batch, adding in an exorbitant amount of baking soda to the mixture and stirring it. The resulting pancakes were suspiciously puffy, but for some reason the customer paid no mind. I also watched my boss pour the man's glass of water, except he didn't use any water at all. He filled the entire glass with vinegar, and perhaps another solvent I was unaware of. The customer must have had no sense of taste or smell, as the entire restaurant reeked of vinegar because of this. Then, all 3 of us eagerly watched to see the outcome. 2 jaw-dropping bites, stuffing the pancakes down his throat, then a long guzzle to wash it all down. The man wiped his mouth and didn't even notice that anything was wrong. He started to get up and walk away, but then something stopped him. He groaned and began to clutch his stomach, which was ballooning inside far more than it ever had before. He started belching and foaming at the mouth and keeled over trying to vomit, but all he could do was choke. Before long, his entire stomach was double in size, and then he exploded.
What? What's Amy can
Video.
Bereit für den Frühling? Spüre die Leichtigkeit des Shoppens, bei der alles perfekt zusammenpasst. Und der richtige Look? Deinen Stil trifft. Erlebe die smarte Welt der Mode mit Bon Prix.
Blood got spewed in every direction. A hollowed out carcass of a man was all that was left behind. The blood mist got everywhere, and in all the carnage, I heard the rolling of a coin. I watched the penny spin and tumble to the floor. And that's when I realized I recognized that penny.
This is why it's scary. Is that the part 3?
The next story was inspired by
It's
an
the last one.
incident that occurred around the Christmas holidays. They say the customer is always right, but in this case, the customer takes his stance to a whole new level. Here, you can see a mugshot of the alleged culprit. It's what he did that shocked the Denny's staff members and customers. Here's a dramatized animation of what went down that one Christmas night at Denny's. Everybody knows about congested streets and vacation sprees in and out of the country during this time of year. But what I despised most about December here at Denny's were the staff members who had applied for time off a month ago and were now enjoying days of endless barbecue nights and spas with their families. The restaurant owner would always plead that I help him out during holidays, luring me in with promises of better incentives. So one day I had to attend to several customers simultaneously while coordinating with my colleagues who was assigned to work in the kitchen. And this was probably the worst case scenario because there were only 2 of us today. The other 3 staff members called in sick, so naturally we had several angry customers grumbling about the slow service.
Hey, I've got a meeting at 10:30 a.m. Is there any way you can make my eggs faster?
A guy in a suit said.
This bridge is the worst. You guys should close down instead.
An old woman exclaimed. There wasn't enough time for me to take breaks in between, so this season was an endurance test for my colleague and me. Later on, a man with a crew-cut hairstyle and freckled face approached the counter, his eyebrows furrowed as he drummed his fingers impatiently on the countertop, while I had my hands full of bedding my colleague in the kitchen, making omelets and toasting bread. From my peripheral vision, I could see him gritting his teeth, his face turning red. Then, when his temper went out of control, he threw the service bell on the floor, stomping it with his feet like a child going off on a tantrum.
I'll be right with you, sir. Just a minute.
I hollered as I sliced some chicken tenders.
A minute? I've been waiting here for hours!
He cried out, this time banging on the countertop. Since my colleague was new on the job, she was agitated. So to help mitigate the tension, I said,
I got this.
I left the kitchen and approached the counter where the customer was still waiting for me.
Where the hell are my pancakes? I don't want to see your pancakes. I want my Denny's pancakes. Now!
He said, squeezing his hands into a fist. I heaved a troublous sigh, aware he was the type of customer who wouldn't listen to reason. So, remaining in the driver's seat, I replied,
I understand how you feel, sir, but right now we still
I
have...
don't have time for your excuses. Just get me what I asked for, or else.
He picked up the service bell and threw it at my head, catching the attention of all the other customers. I'd been cussed at multiple times in the past, and honestly, I couldn't blame him for feeling the way he felt. But I didn't bust my chops just to be ridiculed in public and physically assaulted. Did he ever work in a restaurant? And did he ever experience working overtime, constantly exposed to a toxic environment such as this one? He didn't seem to be the type of person who would put himself in other people's shoes. So, unable to contain my agitation, I said,
Or else what? I've got 20 other customers who came in just like you. So if you have nothing better to say, you can sit down and wait like a good little boy, or you just leave and find another restaurant. Plain and simple.
Everyone was astounded, including my colleague in the kitchen, but not this guy. He was so adamant about his pancakes and Grand Slam special that he threw a fit and began kicking tables and chairs, yanking the blackout window roller blades until they came off.
Sir, if you don't stop doing that, I'm afraid I will have to cancel your order and call the cops.
He jerked his head in my direction, and with a malicious grin, he suddenly stopped and sat down as I warned. This allowed me to go back into the kitchen and assist my colleague once more. However, moments later, I heard screaming coming from the dining area, and when I came to check, I saw the creep invading other customers' tables, stealing their salt and pepper, swilling them down like they were some kind of energy drink.
Sir, please stop. We don't need you being any more salty than you already are.
I said aloud. It was so horrifying that I asked him to stop immediately, to which he replied,
But I'm so hungry.
Then, just when I thought he was done tormenting me with his demented behavior, he began licking off dirty plates from empty tables, stuffing his mouth with leftover bread and meat as he drooled and laughed like a raving lunatic.
Mom, where are you?
Do you have the
I didn't know how to approach this guy. In fact, I wasn't sure if I wanted to reach out to him in the first place, primarily because of how he gripped the table knife, which made him look intimidating. My worst fear was that he would go on a rampage and take it out on the other customers, causing them physical harm as he did to me earlier. Moments later, I heard the sound of broken glass followed by customer screams. So, as I sauntered towards the counter, I saw the crazy man sitting in front of some guy, trembling in fear. He waved the broken glass dangerously, his smile a devilish grin. I remembered seeing the helpless customer surrender his plate of pancakes and chicken wings. I could hear him quivering while saying,
It's okay. You can have it if you want.
The creep laughed gaily, pulling the plate and utensils towards him, saying,
Don't mind if I do.
Then he dug in without a tinge of reluctance, eating like a wild animal. Inch by inch, the customer sidled until he created some separation between himself and the crazed man and scurried out of the restaurant. I then shouted,
Get the hell out of here or I'm calling the cops.
Annoyed, the creep set the table napkin on fire, and then he threw the object to the Christmas tree with a flustering grin and said,
Merry Christmas.
My colleague and I quickly ran over and extinguished the fire, allowing the culprit to escape. All of the customers yelled and ran out amid the fire, and we called the police to track down the psycho. The following day, we explained everything to our employer, and she promised to hire more staff, hoping that this incident would never happen again. However, I still get chills whenever our orders are backed up.
Where the hell are my pancakes? I don't want to see your pancakes. I want my Denny's pancakes now.
So guys, that is the end of the video.
There's still more, guys.
No, the other one. There's 18 videos. The other one.
Es ist Frühling.
It's left.
Königshof blüht wieder. Suchen Sie den schönsten Frühling.
Pet one.
I woke up on the wrong side of the bed one morning to what sounded like raccoons digging through my trash can. I armed myself with a broomstick and ran outside in my pajamas, but when I got there, whatever it was had already run off. They left my trash can knocked over, with all the bags split open, and there was trash strewn all over the place. That certainly didn't put me in a good mood. but I had to pick it up as quickly as I could. I had a double shift at work that day, noon to close. Had to get a shower and everything too, because a Hooters girl doesn't earn tips if she smells like trash. My whole day at work was awful. We had more creeps in the restaurant than usual, which is saying something. Many, many hungry eyes were waiting for me. The nastiest creeps, too. Relentless and persistent. And most were too broke to tip me more than a few quarters. But the worst part was, Carl, the fry cook, who was
Mommy.